Hey everyone, welcome to another review, and today we're going to be doing a movie based on a true story that has recently come out, taking place in the gritty times of the 1980s in Detroit, Michigan of all places, and it's the movie that's currently out in theaters, White Boy Rick. White Boy Rick is the story of a child by the name of Rick, and what happens is we follow along this 3-year journey on him starting slowly into the gang business, slowly becoming an FBI agent, or a person that the FBI uses to infiltrate the drug ring, and then slowly watches everything fall apart, as well as his family, and seeing that the dad's dream to keep the family together doesn't really happen. And this movie is okay, directed by Yann Demange, I believe. I probably got that wrong, but this movie is very uninspired for being based on a true story. It doesn't feel like there was a story in the movie. It's held together by really strong acting performances, and the fact that the movie could have been about something, but unfortunately never got there. There was never one cohesive story or one basic narrative. It was kind of like we just follow the main character along, and then we show kind of interesting things, but none of them are really strung together to form a cohesive narrative. The main character, played by first-time actor Richie Merritt, he's actually pretty good. His accent doesn't make sense for the geography of where they're at. They're in Detroit, and he kind of has this southern Louisiana accent. He's the only one who has that accent. Matthew McConaughey is really good in this role as the dad, as Richie Sr. or Rick Sr. The daughter is actually really good too, played by Jason Leigh. But the problem is there are tidbits of interesting stories, but none of it are strung together. There are emotional parts. Like I said, Matthew McConaughey plays he's a gun dealer who, this is taking place in 1984, and he wants to get enough money to be able to open up a movie shop. He wants to do movie rentals. He would have been very good in the 80s and early 90s. And his ambition is, and he keeps teaching this lesson, he keeps talking to his son saying, you got to learn how to be a wolf, not a sheep. And he ends up doing it backwards. There's a whole plot with Ricky Jr., which should have been the main topic. It should have been about Ricky and how the FBI and the local cops got him selling drugs into the community. And they should have leaned on that angle. Except it doesn't. That angle kind of comes in at the beginning, drops in the middle part, and then comes back in at the end. In between, though, there's this whole thing about his sister being a strung out junkie, and them bringing her back. There's this other subplot about him and how at the age of 16 he has a kid, and the whole thing about him and the first person that gets him into the life of crime. But none of it either feels connected or is just a random act of events. That's what this movie is, a random act of events. Some of them play out to conclusions, but then you still have another hour to go. Movie's very slow paced. There are many times in the movie where I was literally sitting there looking at my watch to see, how much longer I have to go. The movie's not overly long. It's only it's about 2 hours and 2 minutes. But at the same time, it's so slowly paced. There's no idea where the story is leaning, and then when it finally gets to its conclusion, its logical conclusion, in the last 10 to 15 minutes, it's kind of like, okay, and then the movie just abruptly ends. And then after that, we go to about a 2-minute diatribe from the real Richie, the real Rick, who's still alive and just got out of prison, I believe, a year or two ago. And it kind of feels like a waste of some good movie performances. Matthew McConaughey, like I said, was really strong. The lead was okay in his role. I like the sister. I wish she was in the movie more, but I get why she's not. This movie reminded me a lot of American Made that came out last year starring Tom Cruise. But that one you kind of had more of a narrative, and it was stronger held together. It just didn't have anything to say about it. And that's what's wrong with White Boy Rick. Not only does it have nothing to say, you never feel like you know where, or sometimes it's a good thing when you don't know where a movie goes, but there's no story. There's nothing to say, okay, this is happening, and I want to see this, and they throw me for a loop. It just feels like a random act of events. And not only that, there's, like I said, there's no point to it. Are they trying to say something against the justice system? They do at the end. They kind of do at the beginning, but in the middle there's all this stuff about it. And it's not even a good character study. So, I mean, White Boy Rick, I wasn't bored. I was checking my watch a lot because it was like, this is a movie without a point. And that's my overall feeling for this movie. There was no point to the movie. Yeah, so this is one of those movies where it's kind of hard to talk about because I didn't hate it enough to throw verbal jabs at it, and it's not interesting enough to like start going into the narrative. It's one of those movies where it's just like, I saw it, perfectly fine, I will forget about this tomorrow morning, and I will not buy this on DVD or Blu-ray. That's my thoughts on White Boy Rick. I give it a 4.8. It's fine, harmless. It's a placebo pill. You'll take it. It'll go out of your system, but it does nothing in the interim. That's my thoughts. Let me know if you've seen this movie in the comments below. Like, subscribe, and hopefully tomorrow is a better movie, or even a worse movie, or just something to talk about. So that's it. Bye.